We, before the pandemic, did a lot of regional, local meetings in person at restaurants. Post-pandemic, we had to figure out how to pivot those for our clients. And we had to do it in a way that was effective and you didn't lose the local touch as you're doing virtual live stream meetings. Let's kind of have a fireside chat about that on the Lyons Den. Hi, I'm Kevin Lyons. I'm the CEO and Chief Solutions Officer of Lyons Den Solutions. And today I want to talk about a unique paradigm that we went through. So one of our primary clients is Rheumatology Nurses Society. And they did and still do, we do a lot of accredited education for nurses and advanced practice providers. So we had a unique challenge that we had to work through. And that is we used to do a ton of local, regional dinner programs where we flew out to a city. We had a person who actually presented. We had a nurse that presented. We had a moderator, and we had a group of people that came out for a steak or a chicken dinner or whatever it was to hear about this accredited education, to get contact hours so that they could understand more about our clients, our value propositions. Here's the challenge. So the pandemic hit, right? All of a sudden, no one's flying, no one's getting together. And now there's this empty gap. There's this empty void of a national organization being able to reach regionally, to be able to reach locally. And we started to work through that and say, hey, this is a unique problem. And it's not just answered with a Zoom meeting or some type of a broadcast nationally. We figured that out and we did the national broadcast. We did the conference, we did the multi-day events. Those are kind of easier because you don't have limits, you don't have boundaries, you don't have constraints. You don't have to say, instead of saying, hey, anyone in the country and anyone in the world can all now come without having to fly and blah, blah, blah to our annual conference. Now we had to say, how are we going to pinpoint? How are we going to preserve the local flavor of networking, the local flavor of contact with customers, contact with members, contact with our constituents as a national organization? So think about that for a minute. So if you are a national organization or you have a national reach, or maybe you're a solo entrepreneur that has clients all over the world, but part of your business was actually designed around the locale, or being able to go to Portland or Atlanta or Miami or New York City or Rochester, whatever, and actually create community and create networks there so that you have a grassroots, groundswell effect of marketing through a membership-based community, whether that membership-based community is a nonprofit association, which I do a lot of work in, or it is your online association that you would have maybe regional meetings to meet with your people. Well, how do you recreate that in a virtual space? So our team at Lyons Den Solutions, we started thinking through that, and it's like, okay, we know how to spread the net wide and get a lot of people to come to one big event. But how do we really become laser focused and get a few people who are highly qualified leads to come to a regional event without losing that intimate element of it? So I'm going to tell you two stories. One is the story of the pragmatic side of kind of our recipe, the stack that we use to pull this off. The other is going to be a story of the experience of the attendees. And we're going to do this pretty quick. I don't want to have to put any wood on the fire, so we're going to wrap this up pretty quick. So here's the scaffolding, if you will, of what we did. So we do a lot of Facebook advertising. We do hundreds of thousands of dollars of Facebook advertising over the course of years. And what we figured out is when we used to do live in-person dinner programs, or we would go to Oklahoma City, or we would go to wherever, Savannah or whatever, and try to put a group of people that are a target audience that we've never met before in a room to introduce to them our things, our thoughts, ideas, our products, our opportunities, our value propositions. we actually use geo-targeting and Facebook advertising, but we always had the hook of saying, hey, come out to Ruth Chris Steakhouse and we're gonna buy you a steak and you can learn about this education, you can get some contact hours and continue education and so forth. Now, I always drive nonprofits, so we're not selling during these things. We're actually doing fundraising to provide for us to do education to achieve outcomes for our sponsors of delivering education to the attendees. So it's a little different business model that you might be used to, but the pragmatic principles are the same. So we did Facebook advertising, tightly geo-targeting, cross-referencing with, in this case it was nurses. We would target titles in Facebook. We would delineate that with specialty. We would say, hey, we want everyone who's not rheumatology. And we'd figure out this algorithm that really worked well with us to put butts and seats at a dinner program. So we're like, okay, so we know how to do that piece of it. So we just finished 20 cities in 4 days of live stream broadcasts. And these were like 12-hour days where we did multiple cities in a day. So what we ended up doing is we took that same formula and instead of putting them in a restaurant, we put them in a Facebook event. So we set up Facebook events for 20 different markets at 20 different times over the course of 4 days. We micro-selected Facebook advertising on a geographic level to basically draw them in to show interest or hopefully identify that they're attending the Facebook event. The conversion or the call to action was once that you showed interest in the Facebook event, we needed you to register on a custom WordPress platform that we designed that actually held the primary live stream inside our engagement platform. So the funnel here, advertisement, compelling call to action of saying, hey, join this to get some information that you need for your career development. We are giving away some good prizes, Apple Watches, and so forth. So that's a secondary hook. We then point them to the Facebook event page, wanting them to take an initial action of showing that I'm interested in going or I am attending. So that right there is a whole nother probably conversation as far as how to use Facebook events effectively of lead conversion into attendance, right? So we had them do that. Then we told them in order to qualify for the prizes, you need to go to our website. Now our stack was WordPress with ThriveCart as a conversion. Actually, we didn't use ThriveCart because we didn't charge for it. WordPress using Gravity Forms, going into Infusionsoft, giving access through Memberium, and then streaming through Vimeo and Meeting Pulse. So basically it's like a stack there we put together on a custom WordPress site. So what we found though is for them to go from the ad to like, share, comment on the ad, which gives us more lift with Facebook, over to the Facebook events page. Well, that was like a whole monumental step for them to say, hey, I'm showing this much interest. And our conversions were not bad on that level. Then we had them go from the Facebook events page and register on the custom WordPress site. Well, now we have another barrier of entry because we're asking them to do something else. When you sugar the ants past a couple of corners, now sugaring the ants is a marketing term that I kind of coined to where you kind of lay out your pathways of how you want your attendees or your respondents or your audience to flow. When you ask them to do too many right-hand turns, they lose interest because the barrier or the effort is not in their mind worth the gain because they have not bought into the value proposition of what you're giving them. Let me digress back into this. So basically, Facebook advertising to a Facebook event to a registration on the WordPress page, then they would come back at the time of the event with a series of announcements. We had automated emails dripping out to them from Infusionsoft, reminding them, we'll see you Tuesday at 3 o'clock. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. We'll see you today at 3 o'clock. Hey, we're starting in an hour. All of those types of stackable automation campaigns. So we did that. And here's something that we found, and again, we're talking about the pragmatic side still, or the function side of this, is we found that we were losing so many people because in this world, people don't have time. No one got any time for that, right? They don't have time to go through these funnel steps to get them down to the point of attending. So we saw adequate conversion for everyone coming into the website and watching the live stream and engaging in our engagement platform and giving us the data and the analytics they needed. But here's something that we found. It was actually our marketing manager who really picked this up, so kudos to Chloe, is she's like, Kevin, we're getting a lot of people coming in to actually watch the stream on the website, but we're losing a lot of people in between the Facebook event and the actual website conversion. So what can we do to go back and recapture those people at the Facebook event to get them to come inside to the website conversion? And then there was this whole disruptive mindset of, why do we even need to have them come into the website conversion? Well, at first it was because we want to collect additional metadata from them, like, maybe what type of nurse they were, what's their licensure, or what's their intentions on developing out their career path. But we said, well, if we're getting like a whatever percent conversion into the event site, but for every 5 people we're getting into the website, we're losing 5 or 10 people on the event site. We're like, is that worth it? So we decided to do 2 audiences. We still held the entire event on our event platform, the WordPress site with all the custom stuff on it, but we then used Restream, and this was like a brilliant thing from our team that came up. We used Restream and we set a second stream to the actual Facebook events page, to where even if they showed that they had interest in attending, they were notified that we were going live with the event. We actually saw more attendance on the Facebook event page than we were even satisfied with on the website. So we were like all of a sudden seeing more attendance and more activity on the Facebook page, because that was a less, I would say it was an easier place for them to engage, versus having to jump through all of our hoops for having them to engage on our platform. Now, we still wanted them to get to our platform. So what we did is we started saying, hey, well, you can engage here on Facebook, but if you really want the full experience, if you really want to get the continuing education and so forth, here's a link in the notifications and the comments to how to quickly register for free to visit us on our website. It's the same stream in 2 places. So again, this is the scaffolding. Facebook advertising. So this is what the end point of the scaffolding, this is what we ended up doing. Facebook advertising targeted to the local market, converting them into an interest on a Facebook event page within our brand page, showing either they want to attend or they're interested in attending or they are attending. We then asked them to join on that custom WordPress site, but we streamed to both the Facebook and the WordPress site to give us another opportunity of converting them into the WordPress site. But then we went a step further. We had special prizes that we offered that they could win on either site. But to win those prizes, of course, they had to give us additional information. So, if we're sending out an Apple Watch or a Uber Eats gift card or whatever, we need their home address, we need their email address. And so it offered an incentive to them to get more information, not to mention the core value propositions and the call to actions that we did within the actual programming itself, which gave us even more opportunities on Facebook. So here's the takeaway, and I'm going to go to the other side of this. Sometimes we build platforms or funnels, or we build processes, or we find ourselves in the middle of building things to meet the needs of today that we replicate tomorrow because we have to meet the needs for tomorrow with some other solution. Never be afraid of coming back and questioning the process, questioning the platform, questioning everything that worked yesterday. Because if you don't continually improve and evolve on that, you'll be stuck in yesterday's results and yesterday's successes, and you'll never break through to what tomorrow will bring. So here's the unique customer experience of this. We had people that would not register for our custom WordPress site, but they only wanted to put their toe in the water on Facebook. They wanted to put their toe in the water to see, okay, I can watch from the edges without having to really engage. Now, trust me, I begged them. I was like, hey, welcome to the broadcast today. Make sure that you like, hey, is our audio okay? Make sure you give us some comments in there. Let us know where you're from. I mean, because we're all over the country watching. I mean, so we're pumping the well, trying to get them to engage. And of course, you have to over pump that well to get the engagement level that you want back. What we found, though, is the engagement on Facebook was more organic, to where they were telling us, hey, I'm listening from this city. I'm a student nurse. I'm someone who's looking for a career change. I'm someone who's battling with some of the diseases that your nursing organization works with. This is all for our client. Versus the questions that were inside the WordPress site were a lot more crafted. They were a lot more intentional. And we needed both audiences. We needed the prospects on the fringe, but we also needed the experts who were participating. And through the both of them, it created this engagement because we had two-way communication, two-way engagement, and it really created this unique, small, local penetration into a marketplace through that funnel, Facebook advertising to a Facebook event page, using the dual live stream of the inner circle, outer circle approach, using Restream with one stream to Facebook, one stream to the custom WordPress site, but ultimately the conversion of interest, the Facebook event site is like showing, and we're still, I just finished this today, this is fresh. It's showing more opportunity there to where we're probably going to shift some of our advertising efforts and some of our branding efforts to really focus on that part of the culture. We're also going to start replicating this on LinkedIn Live and some other platforms like that to see if we can get some of the same results. So here's the wrap up of the Fireside chat. Is we really, and it looks like I'm close to having to put some more wood on that fire. I just really don't want to. I'd rather go to bed and make a fire for my family in the morning. But always be willing to, not only for you, but if you have a team around you, listen to them for opportunities to question how you did it yesterday and what processes, what approaches worked yesterday, what ideologies were intact yesterday that today are not relevant and tomorrow will be passé. And always be willing to innovate. Always be willing to be disruptive. I mean, I know Google says, fail and fail often and all of that. And I think, whatever works for you. I always look at what can we do to disrupt today so that tomorrow there's new gold and there's new gems discovered in the soil that was broken today. So there's some deep thoughts with you for tonight from the Lyons Den. I hope you enjoy the Fireside chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what are some of your challenges if you're doing live streaming when you used to do live in-person events. If you're doing live stream conferences or virtual conferences when you once did in-person conferences. That's what we live in. And hopefully together we can have some of those conversations and really kind of see what type of innovation comes from it. Again, I'm Kevin Lyons. I'm CEO and Chief Solutions Officer of Lyons Den Solutions, and I appreciate you watching this video. I'm looking forward to our next time together. Take care.